So I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining me today. My name is Sarah Chandler and I'm on the training and support team at Hawks. And today I'll just be walking you guys through some of our most widely used reporting and analytics tools, and hopefully you find this helpful. So I will go ahead by logging into my Teach account first. So just signing in here, I'm gonna select my gradebook and then just head straight over to the reports tab. So looking here in the gradebook, you'll see a lot of different reports that are available to you. But what we tried to do was highlight the 4 key reports that we find instructors use most frequently. So here we have first, all student scores. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into that and show you guys what this is. So in this report, this is going to give you a good idea of where your class stands as a whole, and gives you kind of a broad overview of students and their grades. So what you can do is select your section, and then you can select a specific student and a specific assignment type if you would like. But you could just leave these blank, like what I'm going to go ahead and do. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on Display Student Scores. So selecting that is going to give me all of my students from this section, and it's going to break it out by the assignment groups that I have set. So we have lessons, tests, and quizzes. Something to point out here in a newer update, if you have used Assignment Reviewer in the past, is that we have added some graphical displays when you look over here next to the student's final grade. So clicking onto these graphical displays, we have a bar chart that shows you the number of students within each letter grade. We also break that down into a pie chart with the different percentages. And then lastly, a statistical analysis that gives you the average, median, and standard deviation. So besides that, we have our tests and quizzes, which expanding those out are going to give you the student's raw score that they made on those assignments. However, if you are to select the green plus sign and expand out the lessons, as these are, as you know, mastery based, and our approach is a little bit different, students aren't going to be getting that raw score normally. So if they master the lesson, what you'll see here is, and what you'll want to see really, is a lot of green check marks. So the green check marks mean that the student completed the assignment on time, they mastered it, they completed that certification. And so you can always check out our legend right here for what these icons mean if you forget. But what I'll do is go ahead and walk you through these now, so that way you have a good understanding of what this looks like. So looking here, if I select this green check mark, you have a few different options. So you can choose to edit this individual student's score, and you can edit their individual due date. So if you're looking at assignments and then lesson due dates, that's going to affect your whole section. But if you are here under all student scores, this is where you can edit the due date per student and per assignment. So you can simply select the new due date and hit save. And then again, underneath here, we have the ability to review student assignments. So selecting review assignment is going to open that up in a new tab, and it will let you see if the student attempted this certification, however many times that they did, all of those attempts would show up here, and you can select review attempt, and you're able to see the exact questions that the student had and what they submitted as their answer, if they got it correct or incorrect. So this is the same sort of review that your students would be able to see on their end as well. So you can even see the time taken per question, and you can use this drop down and jump around to questions this way. Or if you just want to hide the correct ones and focus on those questions they got incorrect, you can do that as well. And then also, if you are ever wanting to review students' web test, then it would look pretty similar to this. But in terms of a web test, you would have the additional option right next to any of those questions that a student might have gotten wrong to give them additional points. So here, if this question was worth, 2 points, it would give me that box here saying maybe they got a 0 out of 2, and you can change that 0 to a different number and then hit save. So just a little bit of a difference when you're looking at tests. So I'm just going to X that out and jump back to the gradebook. So here, I also want to show you now what the little orange clock means. So what that means is that the assignment is past due and the student did not receive credit for it. So here we can see that there is the ability to review assignment, meaning that the student did attempt to master the lesson, but they did not achieve that mastery level. And then here, on the other hand, we can click on this orange clock over here and realize that there's no ability to review assignment, meaning that that student didn't even attempt it and the lesson is past due. So another icon is this yellow check mark, which means that the assignment was completed, they got credit, but it was done late. And if you hover over it or click onto it, you can see that based on if you do have a lesson late penalty, you can see what the student actually ended up earning on that lesson. And then just a couple more things are, if you are ever going to edit a student's score, then you'll see here that these 2 little red asterisks are going to appear next to any of those lessons that you've edited the score for. And then if you edit a student's due date for that individual student, you'll see the blue cross will show up. And then lastly, we have the blue icon over here, meaning that the lesson has a due date that has not passed yet. So it's not due yet, but it is assigned to the student. So that is our all student scores report. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the reports tab and head over to detailed student grades. So looking at detailed student grades, this is going to give you a more specific picture of how a student is performing. So it's kind of looking on a per student basis at all of that same sort of information we just saw. So here you can select this text box and either start typing in a student's name or just select one from this dropdown. So selecting this student's name, I have that overview of how they're doing. I can see it's split up again by assignment group. I see the same sort of icons that I saw in all student scores, when it was due, when they submitted it, what their grades are. And then I can also use the actions, these 3 dots, to have the same sort of abilities to edit the score or the due date and review the assignment. And then towards the top, you'll see that you have the ability to send an email from this page to the student. You can transfer the student to a different section, or you can select to view lesson activity. So by selecting view lesson activity, that's going to pull up our time per student report, where you can then take a look at students' activity, if I select that, and just see a little bit more information on how many attempts they had, if they certified, and then their time spent and learned, practice, and certify. Jumping back to reports, we're now going to check out search by criteria. So in this report, this is going to give you an ability to really pinpoint specific students that might fall into a category or certain criteria. So here, I'm just going to leave it as all sections, but you can choose to select a specific one. And then I'm going to just turn on some of these filters to see what students might fall into them. So if I'm wanting to maybe capture students that aren't performing as well, I might say I want to see students with a grade overall between 0 and 70. But I can leave it at that, or I can even add a few additional filters. So I'm going to say I want to see students who also haven't logged in for the past 2 days. And then I'm going to filter my report. So here it's going to provide me with that list of students. And because I searched for the overall grade and the last login, it's going to provide you with those specific columns here. And not only can I do that, but I can choose to send these students a message. So I can select all, select specific students either way, and then hit send message. And this is going to blind copy all of those students onto this message, or I can then type something out like make sure that you go into Hawks and keep track of your assignments, or you should come visit me during office hours. And then on the other hand, you can also search for students with grades between, 70 or 100 and find students that are doing really well and send those students a message saying, good job, keep up the good work, and really personalize that outreach based on how you see students performing. And then one other thing that you can do is if you do have a set filter that you like to go to every day or however often you check this, what you can do is select Save Filter Options, give the filter a name, and then you'll see up here, you can easily just select your filter next time that you come in and filter your report and then get that information. So jumping to the reports again, I'm going to go through our last key report that we have here and probably everyone's favorite because I think it has a lot of great information all in one place. So I'm going to jump into Assignment Reviewer. So looking at Assignment Reviewer, first it's going to show you the Lessons tab. So we have all of this same analytics and information that you can find underneath web test as well, but I'm just going to go through lessons because it's going to look pretty similar. So I'm just going to leave it at all sections. And then as you can see here, looking at the lessons that I have assigned, I can see using those same sort of colors that we were seeing in the all student scores and detailed student grades, see how students are doing with the pace of the assignments. If there's a lot that are completed and done, or if there's more that are done late or overdue, and just keep a pulse on things that way. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can also see the number of students that have certified in the lesson and the average amount of time for your class as a whole that was spent in the 3 different modes of the courseware. So then you can select either from the graph or from right here, the assignment name, to get more information on that specific assignment. So looking here, first on the Students tab, which is going to list out those students in my course. And it's going to show me if they have mastered the lesson, what their grade was, also show me the number of attempts they had, when it was completed, and then their individual time that they spent in the learn, practice, and certify modes. So you can easily choose to sort and just focus on those students that maybe haven't mastered, or sort versus on how much time they're spending. But here, if I just go ahead and select one of these students' names, for any that have at least attempted the lesson, the name will be hyperlinked and you can click onto it. And again, this is going to give you that ability to review the students' attempts. So another place that you can go in and check those out. But besides looking at this information, another thing I did want to note here is if you do have students that are ever coming to you and saying that they spent a lot of time in the lesson, and they just couldn't get through for some reason, you can always come here as a way to kind of double check things, see if they did spend the time in the lesson like they said, or if maybe they only spent a few minutes. So a good way to check up on that. And then next is the Analytics tab, which I think is pretty cool because what this is going to do is break down the lesson that you're looking at, so 1.1, and show you all of the individual questions in that lesson. So here we have 10 questions, and we have this graph here to see if the questions were answered correct or incorrect. or even incorrect format. And this is going to be looking at the class as a whole, or that section, and show you the objective for each question, the difficulty level, and then see if students are getting that question more incorrect or correct. And then again, you can see that time spent on the question. So you can always sort to maybe see what was that frequently missed question, or you can select the question on the bar graph or by selecting the question over here. And what this will do is actually pull up a variation of what that question was. So I know a lot of instructors might like to do this as a sort of review before an exam or after, and also as a way to just practice those questions in class in case students maybe don't want to speak up on something that they were struggling with. You can always say, you know, I saw that this question was missed quite a few times. Let's just go over it, make sure everyone feels comfortable. So a good way to just be able to adapt your course and help students focus on what they might be struggling with. And you can also use this as a way, if you're going to a new semester, to take a look at what those questions were and maybe go in and edit the curriculum or any sort of web test as well. So that is Assignment Reviewer. And again, you can also do this for any sort of web test as well. But that is, you know, all of the key reports that we see most instructors use. So thank y'all for joining me today, and I will go ahead and check our Q&A in case there's any questions. So please just go ahead and chat in any questions if you have any about our reporting, and I'll wait just a second in case any of those come in. And I will say, just as like a frequently asked question that I get from instructors is, if you are an instructor that assigns any sort of diagnostic web test to have students be able to test out of certifications, then a report that you can utilize, if this applies to you, is the diagnostic certifications report. So this will allow you to see specifically, based on that diagnostic web test, which certifications the student tested out of versus those that they might be completing since they didn't test out. So just as a question in case that might be something that you had thought of in the past. But it looks like that is all we have for today. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to your designated training and support specialist, or you can give us a call or use our 24/7 live chat on our website. But I hope that this was helpful, and have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.